the Python MK2, we are pleased to announce that this will be available in-game for Odyssey players on 7th August for credits at shipyards across the galaxy. However, if you cannot wait until then, you can get 3-month early access to this ship on 7 May from the store for $16,250 ARX. Non-Odyssey owners will be able to access ship variants from the store for ARX. We're also going to be introducing a new category in the Elite Dangerous Game Store, pre-built ships. Pre-built ship packages will offer commanders the opportunity to purchase ships that have been given a significant upgrade from their base models. We envision these pre-built ships to be a quicker way for newer players to get involved in the areas they have the most interest in, or for our existing players who are considering a new career path in-game, but do not have time to devote to a new build from scratch.
Hold on! But that's pay to win! What the fuck?! So recently Frontier, the developers for Elite Dangerous, has announced that the game itself is gonna change in monetization practices, introducing pay to win, a cardinal sin in video games that is often seen. So can you honestly, genuinely and truthfully answer the question, what is pay to win? How does it work? How do you define it? Because here's the thing, saying that, well, there's no win condition in a game, so there's no pay to win, or I can grind the game and get the same stuff, so that's not pay to win, right? No, that's not good enough. Sadly, that's not how reality works, not how logic works. That's how your feelings are talking. So please, try to actually describe what it is. What is pay to win? Because I sure did. For a half an hour, I described in careful detail. How do you define pay to win? What does it do? And how does it affect games? I'll link that video down below. But for the rest of you, well, I'll try to summarize it for today.
So, it's possible that my take on this might not quite be as harsh as TheYamiks, but let's face it, pay to win is now a reality in Elite Dangerous, or it's about to be, and frankly, I'm not at all surprised. In my recent video, I discussed why Frontier might have opted for this route. Their financials aren't exactly glowing, and Elite is very likely in need of a cash injection. More money might mean more resources for Elite, but at what cost? Make no mistake, this is indeed pay to win, or pay to skip as some people prefer to soften it. This model allows players to bypass the usual grind of gameplay, paying to skip straight to the in-game advantages, be they significant or minor. Pay to win then is a spectrum. On one end, you might shell out for a pre-built A-rated ship, gaining a slight edge as these require credits which are simple to amass, so not a massive time saver. On the other end, consider buying a fully engineered ship or exclusive modules that would take considerable effort to unlock. This is where pay to win comes to be more pronounced and troubling, and we're not sure yet because Frontier haven't given the details on where they're going to fall on this particular spectrum. But ultimately, Frontier finds themselves in a bit of a predicament. Sell a basic Cobra for £10, and new players might feel cheated when they realise they could achieve the same in minimal playtime. But what about a top-tier, fully engineered Anaconda? That's a significant time saver, sure, but it swings heavily towards pay to win. The real concern here isn't just the imbalance introduced by these transactions, but the broader implications. With real money now a factor in obtaining chips, isn't Frontier incentivized to push players towards spending? And if they don't leverage the cash shop, then what's the point of its existence? The reality is, linking cash shops to gameplay mechanics invariably alters the gameplay. And if you don't believe me, well, consider the consequences, the immediate ones that are going to happen straight away. If you lose a purchased ship that you just bought from the ARC store, do you need in-game credits to rebuy it? If the answer to that is yes, then there's a very real risk that players won't have enough credits to rebuy the ship they just purchased with real money, and that's going to be a problem. On the other hand, if Frontier are going to redefine how in-game ship insurance works, then they're changing the balance of the gameplay. Further, can you sell these ships that you just purchased for real money for credits? If so, it's a direct conversion of real money to in-game currency. Ultimately, pay to win varies widely, and tolerance for it is certainly subjective, but universally, introducing it does change the game, and it's rarely for the better.
So, pay to win. When it comes to the phrase itself, well, a lot of us have this idea that, well, it's just getting an advantage for paying money. You know, buying a level up, or a best sword in the game, or character, or a spaceship perhaps. Well, thing is, that's not the whole story, and it has to be a bit more conclusive. So, after my contemplation, I ended up with a definition as follows. Pay to win is getting any mechanical advantage for real-world currency. So when it comes to pay to win itself, well, it can be, you know, the getting the best sword in the game or unlocking everything in the game immediately, or it can be something as innocuous as simply skipping a waiting timer, like in many mobile games, or perhaps even skipping the grind. Time savers, if you will. And yes, that includes XP boosters. If you can buy XP boosters for real world money, that is, sadly, pay to win. Considering, of course, that, you know, those XPs unlock actual functional parts of the game. So, whenever we're talking about pay to win stuff, there's always 3 modes of retarded thinking that are coming out of the woodworks, calling themselves retorts. So let's deal with those. So, first of all, well, how are you paying to win if, well, there's no winning in the game? How's a game with no win condition pay to win when you can't win anything, right? That's completely ignoring the fact that you are spending money to get more powerful, to get something sooner or immediately. Is that not unfair? Is that not dishonest? Well, if that's your sense of honesty and fairness, well, it's quite a bit different from everyone else's. The next mode of thinking is a bit more reasoned, but still wrong. And that is, well, hey, I can buy this tank immediately, or I can play the game and unlock it at the same time, regardless. Well, as long as I can unlock it through playing the game, that's not pay to win. But is it though? Are you not getting an advantage in time? Are you not saving the time? So tell me, is time not an advantage that you're getting by spending money? Does that not constitute as pay to win? Are you not able to progress faster sooner? No? Really? That's interesting. And the final mode of thinking is, of course, about the skill. So, let's say a more skilled player with stock gear is gonna win over the player who bought the stuff but doesn't know how to play with it immediately. Well, that's a nice way of tilting the experience there, or tilting the argument. And that's intellectual dishonesty, quite literally. So tell me, what would happen if also that skilled player is allowed to purchase the same stuff, or purchase better stuff? What happens then? Would that skilled player just utterly obliterate the other player? No? Well, okay, let's say that we have 2 players of equal skill, and one of them buys, other one grinds. What happens then? Well, you could say that the one grinding is gonna win because he has got more experience. Okay, but that time grinding, the other player can spend training. Tell me, then who's gonna win? See, the problem with pay to win is that everyone knows it's bad, like it's really bad. However, when it is introduced in the games you play, you try to rationalize that, oh, it's not that bad. I understand why it's there, but it's not that bad, you know? It's not even pay to win, you know, trying to rationalize that the game you liked, loved even perhaps, is doing a bad thing. You want to know that, well, hey, it's not that bad. It's okay. Well, they have to do it for X, Y, and Z. It's rationalizing. It doesn't change the fact that it is pay to win and that it is bad. This is where those 3 modes of retarded thinking come from. You're trying to rationalize it. Sadly, that doesn't work when you're applying actual logic. Alright then, let's return to Elite Dangerous here for a bit and read the post here.
We envision these pre-built ships to be a quicker way for newer players to get involved in the areas they have the most interest in, or for our existing players who are considering a new career path in-game, but do not have time to devote to a new build from scratch.
Now, you can see the problem already, don't you? Well, the thing is, they created the problem and sold you the solution. It's almost like a grift, isn't it? But that's pay to win in a nutshell. That's always what happens with pay to win. In order for pay to win to get any kind of attention or even be an option, it has to create a situation where the game is worse and gets worse. so that the paid option becomes better. Now, I can give you a false dichotomy options of would you rather have a game that is really good and developers actually made it fun, you know, no grind or rather less grind, or would you have really grindy game and you had to pay money to actually have fun in it or get fun faster? The whole idea of, well, it's a time saver. Ubisoft once said that too, and that was also pay to win. Saving yourself time is a stupid concept. It's rationalization from your side to accept bad practices. But fundamentally, when it comes to time savers, anyone who advocates for that is essentially saying that games should be worse in order for this feature to be really good. Is that really the state we should be in? Now, you could say that, well, hey, Elite Dangerous is no stranger to pay to win. It's been there since the Kickstarter days, because you could pledge a certain tier back in the day, and thanks to that pledge, you would get a special starting bundle that would include more money or a better ship even. And that's a form of pay to win. And yes, that is true. That is pay to win, and Elite has been that way for a while. However, the problem today with Elite Dangerous is that basically the developers have introduced more pay to win in it, and obviously that's a problematic thing, if not a really bad one. So what I'm trying to get across generally is what is pay to win, how it operates, and obviously that it's just fundamentally, objectively, completely bad. However, whether or not you accept it, whether or not you're okay, whether or not you see it as a necessary evil, now that I leave completely up to you. You can be okay with pay to win. Just be honest what pay to win is, okay? But okay, let's say that you're okay with pay to win in there. You're just saying, well, okay, I know what it is, I know it's bad, but I'm okay with it. Well, it's not that bad, oftentimes is a sentence I hear from people saying that, well, okay, you're buying power, but it's not that bad. Well, sadly, well, yes, it's a slippery slope, but that basically validates, that allows the companies to realize that, oh, well, hey, our fans are accepting this exploitative, and it is genuinely an exploitative and manipulative way of monetization of a game. Well, we can put in even a harsher one next. And next then. Sure, in fact, with video games, we've seen this sort of attitude happening over and over again. We've seen loot boxes being implemented to a certain point. Of course, people started pushing back, and of course, now we don't see them anymore. Well, at least in the general PC gaming. However, with the pay to win, it's more insidious. However, we should fight against it regardless. Fundamentally, what you're doing when you're saying, well, it's not that bad, you're still validating, you're accepting that people with cash are allowed to circumvent the game. Is that really fair, especially for multiplayer games, to have that mentality to say, well, hey, my friend with a bigger cash wallet, he can beat me easily without much trying, or a lot faster. And you know, that's okay in a game. I'm fine with a game being tilted towards the people with more money or willingness to spend more money. Honestly, I don't find that a pleasant experience in a video game, especially for multiplayer games. But even so, I don't find that a very rewarding way of, well, incentivizing developers to make better games. Think of what's gonna be next in a way. Yes, I know it's a slippery slope again, but if we validate this pay-to-win nonsense, fundamentally we're saying developers that, hey, making more challenging, thought-provoking, interesting, fun games is a good thing. No, fuck that. Fuck all that. We're gonna pay for skipping the grind. That's how we want to play our games. It's expected. Hell, even cosmetics have become the norm, even though they are also exploitative. And, well, frankly speaking, don't reflect the amount of effort as well as the care that is being put into the content that is being given. Fundamentally, well, yes, it's a false dichotomy again, but would you rather have a good game being rewarded than an exploitative one? Well, I'd much rather have something like Baldur's Gate 3, rather than, well, live service nightmares that, well, Elite Dangerous is very much turning into further and further with the new management and more so. See, the problem today with Elite Dangerous is that not only Frontier Developments introduced the pay-to-win, which is already a manipulative tactic, but also FOMO, you know, the 3-month early access for a spaceshipy for actual paying money. The FOMO, the fear of missing out, is a disgusting marketing trick that is being used. And fundamentally, what the Frontier Developments is doing is basically trying to eke out, manipulate out of your pocket as much money as possible without actually providing any kind of a benefit to you. And, well, clearly, it smells of desperation. What else they're gonna do at this point with the company? And that kinda leads us in with the company itself, so let's talk about them. See, back in the day, actually not that, regardless, 2019, when Frontier Developments introduced the ARX points, the monopoly money to obscure the value of actual currencies and all that stuff, which is another manipulative tactic which is disgusting to see. Regardless, they mentioned this quote.
As always with our optional additional purchases, ARX can only be used to buy cosmetic game extras and will not be used to introduce and acquire pay-to-win purchases.
The times certainly have changed, haven't they? Well, you see, Frontier Developments in the last 5 years, actually, if you look at their stock market, has plummeted. Their last 5 games, or in the last 5 years, in fact, have all also bombed, and tremendously so. And it seems that the company is really in very dire straits. So that would kinda explain why Frontier Developments was so willing to put in very manipulative mechanics like pay to win in the game without offering any kind of a real benefit, any real content to the player base to rake in the money and try and save the company. And that all is at the expense of you folks. You who play Elite Dangerous, you who still enjoy it or think of it fondly. At your expense, make no mistake, they are trying to save the company. And of course, of the other properties they have, but the point is, it's a really shit situation to be in. And whether or not Frontier Developments is deserving of your love, of your respect, of your defense, and deserves to be saved thanks to pay to win, well, that's completely up to you. Personally, I utterly despise pay to win. I was thinking of many things to say today, and how, and what, and why, and is it even worth it anymore? Whether or not it's worth even looking at Elite Dangerous. Well, the thing is, fundamentally, the pay-to-win edition is a massive, nasty stain on Elite Dangerous's already checkered past. And I don't want the game that, I still like and respect in many regards to just go down in absolute flames. And I do really worry about the whole promise of releasing the source code or being able to run the game after its end-of-life service. But honestly speaking, when you're reading, articles about the mismanagement, the problems within the company in especially the last couple of years, I can't but to think that there's a lot more going on, and Elite Dangerous is just made to suffer, and that's just sad. Thing is, fundamentally, if you look at Elite Dangerous's Steam charts, in the last 6 months, the player base has steadily sort of grown, resumed a little bit, because of that rather decent, somewhat tilted, but still decent experience with the Targoids, the storyline with it. The team who made the whole story for it, yes, it's, aside from the main game, but regardless, it's still respectable, and it was a glimmer of some kind of a hope, right? And now, because of the corporate, essentially, the game is made to suffer, and tremendously so. At every step, the whole idea of, well, you better grind, or you pay us money, will be looming over everything. And that is something I don't wish upon any game. But sadly, Elite Dangerous is here. Sadly, it couldn't take the example from No Man's Sky, releasing just good updates. and pricing the game appropriately, releasing actual content. Yes, they released it for free, but you know, that's their prerogative. Point is, hell, with even Helldivers, yes, it has paid to win, but still, at least they were honest about what the pay to win is. Even if they don't want to name it as pay to win, it is pay to win. But still, they were upfront and honest about, you know, how they monetize the game. At least you can respect that much more. But with Frontier, but with this company, that they simply just drop immediately pay to win and pretend that it's a benefit to you and me, that's a fucking joke and a shame. I utterly despise pay to win. But hey, maybe if you're okay with it, and you recognize that basically they're living off of your backs, trying to save the whole company after their massive fuck-ups, made Elite Dangerous to suffer for the failures of the whole company. Well, in fact, the game that made the whole company. That's just a massive disappointment. And I don't know where Elite Dangerous is gonna go with this. I will take a look at it from time to time, but I don't want to return anymore. I really don't. That's how bad it is. Even I, the hypercritical piece of shit, I don't have the strength anymore. I don't want to.